Hello, School Transportation Nation. Tony Corpin here. Excited to have you on episode 97 of the podcast. This episode brought to you by TransFinder, the leader in school bus routing. We've got a clean bus tip from Nuvve, a San Diego-based clean tech company helping schools intelligently electrify their fleets, and a maintenance tip from Scraper Systems by Right Height, North America's leading rooftop snow removal machine for buses. And guess what? We also have an amazing co-host, Miss Taylor Hannon. Welcome.
Hey, it's great to be back. TNT, we're doing this, Tony.
That's right. I can't wait. And you know what, Taylor? Let's kick it right off with a message from our friends at TransFinder. Guess what, guys? You got to be struggling with those driver shortages. Drivers are retiring, got the great resignation. Come on. Quarantining. How about the impact of vaccine mandates on your drivers too? Hey, TransFinder hears your concerns and they're there for you. It's critical that you have the tools you need to deal with these emergencies when they pop up. That's where Route Finder Plus trip absorption function comes in so you can reduce routes, use fewer drivers, and adapt to those changing climates. Just like the NFL teams use electronic playbooks to make changes in real time in the game, TransFinder's technology helps give you more control than ever. So when the conditions change on the field, you can make strategic changes that will reduce the impact to you and your families. Check out Plus with trip absorption because the driver shortage is no game. Learn more by emailing getplus@transfinder.com. Be sure to mention STN Podcast in that subject line or give them a call at 800-373-3609 to learn more. Guess what, guys? February issue is out. Go to the website. And you know what? Taylor has been on the beat, writing all these great stories. Taylor, what is like, where should we go first? The issue's got so many good ones. What's Taylor's top pick this week?
I honestly don't even know where to begin. February is jam-packed with so many good articles. But I'll be biased for a second and I'll just talk about the ones that I wrote naturally.
Of course.
Why not? I know you've been talking about this in the last couple episodes, but talking about, air quality on the school bus, air filtration systems, air purification systems. This is like the hot new, safety component, right? We've crash tested our vehicles. We continue to do that. We add seatbelts, driver training, student management. All of this is being talked about. And now there's just another layer of safety that, school districts are realizing they may need.
Right, Taylor? It's one of those things, though, safety and air quality. Sometimes transportation professionals are not making the connection, right? You can't see it. We're just trying to keep the kids alive, right? Out of the danger zone, right? That's kind of what it is. But this is this new kind of invisible danger with the virus, but also emissions. It's really interesting, those conversations I'm sure you're having.
Yeah, and it's so weird because transportation directors aren't thinking about it and it's not top of mind for them right now. We did a survey and it talks more about this in the February issue, but out of 69 respondents, 100% have not installed air filtration or purification systems inside their school buses.
So there's a lot of ESSER money available for people to actually grab a hold of this technology. I wonder what the reservations are. Maybe they just aren't thinking about it, maybe.
Well, I've been hearing that it's just not getting there yet, right? Like maybe it's at the state level, but maybe it's not at the school district or even the transportation level. So I think there's maybe a disconnect there with where the money is.
Oh, you're talking about the funding?
Yes.
The money is not matriculating through the system, right? Okay.
That's what I've been hearing, yeah.
It's very interesting.
But I don't know.
I think, if you're in transportation, you got to be the squeaky wheel. You got to go to that superintendent and advocate for these technologies so you get reimbursement because, that money's there and, government money, it's use it or lose it, right? And I want to be sure you guys take advantage of all these resources that are being allocated. Now, maybe they're not being allocated to the school or maybe the school is appropriated it for other reasons. But if transportation doesn't speak up, you're never going to get a piece of the pie. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But like I said, lots of stuff in the February issue, super jam-packed. Another deadline reminder for y'all, February 7th. Does that date sound familiar?
It sounds familiar, Taylor. There's a deadline coming up, I think, right?
Yes, entry-level driver training. It's here. And once again, Tony, the survey that we did found that 45% of people have implemented ELDT as of January 7th. So I don't know what the math is on that. I'm not a math major. 55%, is that right? I don't know what you guys are doing, but the deadline is this week if you're listening to this. So read our article in the February issue, see how this can be applied to your school district. What do you need to be doing to be in compliance?
Procrastination is over. You got to comply or you're going to feel the pain. I know you guys want drivers to get their CDLs, and if you're not prepared, it's not going to be a good thing. So you might want to go to the STN website. We're going to have some content about this, I'm sure, up on there. So read all about it on the website to learn more. And Taylor, we've had some other big headlines. I know last week, Joe Biden had kind of floated the idea of Build Back Better, right? We thought it was dead. Well, it sounds like they are trying to revive it, and they're thinking maybe to break it apart. I know there's controversy in the media about it, and but it was brought up that it would be more focused around energy and the environment, and that kind of sounds like, I'm reading into it, but maybe that sounds like school bus, right? Maybe we might be able to sneak in to maybe a new version. We'll wait and see what the reality is, but it's very interesting to see some of these legislative opportunities to kind of come through. But obviously the infrastructure bill is not a bill. Now it's a law. So we've got that $2.5 billion for EV, and we have the $2.5 billion for low emission over the next 5 years. So really landmark legislation. Can't wait to see the real impact on the school bus industry. And I talk a little bit about this in my my article in the February edition as well, the future of school transportation. So go check that out as well. Love for you guys to read my article. Just go to the website homepage, you click on February, or you can go down to the magazine tab, check out digital editions. You can read all about it, but we'd love for you guys to check out the newest edition. So Taylor, I know we're in Southern California, so we're not getting snow, but I've talked to some of my friends in Chicago, New York. It's cold and snow is hitting hard. Weather can come up fast. And you know what you need? You need something that can handle snow removal. And that's what comes up with our maintenance tip this week, brought to you by Scraper Systems by Right Height, North America's leading rooftop snow removal machine for buses. Scraper Systems fleet plows automates the removal of rooftop snow from school buses and passenger vans, giving you a safer and more efficient method for removing snow, eliminating the need for teams of workers to manually clear snow using those rooftop rakes, brushes. It's designed for fast, effortless, and low maintenance operation in harsh winter conditions. One person can remove up to 12 inches of snow in less than 30 seconds with the simple push of a button. With Scraper Systems by Right Height, you can reduce your labor expense required for the rooftop snow clearing while helping prevent employee injuries as well. Select a different fleet plow model to get the right snow removal solution you need for your fleet. Contact them at scrapersystems.com. That's scrapersystems.com.
So happy we don't live in the snow, Tony.
Yeah, Southern California, right? It's sunny. People look out. We do these video calls. They're looking out the window. They're like, it's snowing where we're at, but, it looks sunny where you're at. So just make it look not as nice, please, or turn off your screen. I'm like, thanks. So mean. They're snow mean. Well, Taylor, I know you've been beat reporting a little bit out there locally, and I know we have a special report on the STN website that we talked a little bit about earlier, just talking about the bigger discussion of discrimination and one transportation leader's story. You want to share a little more about that special report? Yeah,
so we have awesome special reports on our website right now. But I actually had the opportunity to meet Anthony Miller, and he lives out in Thousand Oaks. So I think it's like an hour from the office. Not that far. Here in California. Hour from the office here in California, just to clarify. But he was the director of transportation for Maryland's Prince George's County Public Schools during the 1960s. So during this national backdrop of, protests and racial tension, he kind of integrated a bus driver workforce that was, previously segregated. So he said he kind of slowly put a, school bus driver of a different race with a different group of students and kind of slowly integrated this. And the staff didn't say anything. The community members kind of embraced it. And I don't know. I think that's so cool. And I think back that the 1960s weren't that long ago, but I still feel like they were. Is that crazy? And he started hiring women, right? And I'm taking for granted the fact that as a woman, I can come in and into the workforce, no problem. But for him during this time, it was unheard of. So I don't know. It's crazy. He had so much history to share.
Yeah, it's a little bit before our time, Taylor, because both of us weren't born in the 60s. Some of you out there that are listening have been in the industry a long time, so I know you can probably relate. But yeah, I do think we take for granted some of the privileges and opportunities. And, I think that still remains at the forefront of the discussion on a national level, too, with racism or things of that nature, or equal opportunity pay for women in the workforce. And I think regardless, we've come a long way, but we can keep going. So it's always good to remember some of these, historical inflection points, and to be such a trailblazer, to do such a thing, kind of almost bucking the trend, like waiting for something to go wrong. That's what that kind of sounded like. Like he did it, no one said anything. So, hey, can I push the bar a little farther? Can I move it a little farther and keep kind of pressing those norms culturally? And it's just so powerful when you see someone do that. So must have been an amazing conversation.
Yeah, it was. I didn't actually write the article. I just went down there to take some pictures. There's also a video of me scrambling around his house, trying to get good angles. So if you want to see some behind the scenes of that, it's linked to it via the article on our special report. So it's pretty funny, just kind of moving around there. But yeah, it was great. He had all these papers from when he was a transportation director, like physical papers. How many of you guys actually have these binders of like newspapers? I don't.
Maybe they still have got their, original school transportation news from 1991, hey, Taylor. You never know.
Maybe.
People keep their magazines forever. I do appreciate you guys loving us, that you're nostalgic and you'll hold on to those STNs. Maybe they'll be collector's items. You never know.
Ooh, I like it.
Definitely. Well, Taylor, there's a few other interesting special reports. I know some Maine students are taking the school bus, but, this is a school bus that floats on water. You want to give us a little more on that?
Yeah, super interesting. The article kind of follows this student in Maine, and he wakes up at like 4:45 every morning. And this was done by one of our freelancers as well, Art Gissendanner. It follows the story of this 13-year-old boy who wakes up early in the morning and he gets dropped off at the ferry, and then he takes the ferry to school. So he sits on this ferry for like an hour. He said it's a peaceful time. He's like drinking his coffee, catching up on news, right? This 13-year-old boy is enjoying his peaceful morning to school. But I don't know. That's so different. I guess people do things differently in other parts of the world, but it's super interesting special report. And I don't know if anyone has any similar stories of that.
Maybe we should solicit them. Where should they email you, Taylor?
Taylor@stnonline.com. But we're always looking for interesting stuff like this. So it's a super interesting story. There's pictures of him on the ferry. Of course, they have some complications, right? If it's stormy season and there's a lot of waves or something, I think the ferries don't run as often, and maybe he has to stay home for virtual school. But I don't know. If you guys have similar stories, if you have exotic ways that you get to school, definitely email me and let's write about it.
Beautiful. I love it. Well, changing gears, Taylor, I have some exciting news. STN Expo Indianapolis registration open today.
Whoa.
So if you're thinking about coming to Indy this summer, June 3rd through the 8th, we are downtown at the Crown Plaza in Omni Resort. Really would love to have you guys come see us. We're pairing a really awesome action-packed schedule. I know we've got our keynotes locked in. We've got some enjoyable and entertaining, unique experiences. Safeguard a few years ago did a crash test demonstration where we crash a bus live, and they are going to be hosting us again to do this amazing demonstration, really kind of displays what students experience in a crash. There's crash dummies. It's all videoed, just an unbelievable experience. So if you want to see something you've never seen before, maybe come to STN Expo Indianapolis. We'd love to have you. Go to stnexpo.com for all the details, and you guys can set up. We'll give you the $200 off too with our super early bird discount. That's good until early March. So be sure and take advantage of that.
So, Tony, I don't know about you, but these headlines are feeling very similar to this time last year, right? When we were talking about masks and who can tell you when you have to wear a mask and all these mask mandates. So in Virginia, Governor Glenn Youngkin, he issued an executive order last week, 2 weeks ago, depending on when you're listening to this, that families could opt out of school district mask mandates. So he's basically saying, hey, if your child doesn't want to wear a mask to school, that's fine. So the school districts are now riled up, and 7 school boards actually filed a lawsuit against the governor in an attempt to block this executive order, citing that lifting this would endanger the life of students. Masks are a mitigation measure for, COVID-19. And so they're actually fighting back this executive order. But I don't know. I just feel like we were talking about this on this podcast episodes ago about mask mandates. Should you mask in school buses? Are there still mask mandates out there? And I know for us here in California and LA County, I've kind of just accepted that I'm going to be wearing my mask, for the foreseeable future. But I guess that's not the case everywhere.
Yeah, it's complicated, Taylor. I think everybody's kind of got different opinions on this, and the regulations, or we'll call them recommendations from the CDC, kind of change like the wind. So at the end of the day, I'm not sure we're going to judge either way. We're just going to kind of see which way the headlines go. I think, for my own children as a parent, you're going to make your own decision. Either I'm going to send my kid to school. If they make me wear an N95 mask on my 7-year-old, to go to school, then I'm going to put it on them if that's what I'm required to do. If not, maybe it's just the regular mask. But I'll tell you, it's interesting, when she goes to school, even her teacher is telling her, hey, really love for you guys to wear N95 masks, not cloth masks or double masks. So the teacher in the classroom's even suggesting to the kids, and when your teacher is suggesting it to you, the kids, they take that as doctrine. You got to follow what the teacher says. These aren't suggestions. Maybe the teacher feels they're suggestions, but kids don't view it that way, at least not my daughter. So I think it's interesting when you see that happening at the classroom level. So regardless, we want to keep everybody safe and keep our staff, our bus drivers in the seats, because I think a big knock on this is the teachers are getting sick. So kids can't go to school simply because there aren't enough staff to be taught. So we're seeing some school closures because of Omicron, and that could also be mainly because teachers, frankly, are getting sick. So, no teacher, no class. You can only have so many substitutes.
Or school bus drivers, right? No one to transport those kids to school. So we're seeing it on both sides. No one in the classroom and no one on the school bus. All these illnesses out there.
Yeah, these are kind of ongoing challenges that we definitely see out there. But, Taylor, this kind of leads me to our next conversation where I want to give you guys a clean school bus tip from Nuvve. They offer a complete turnkey solution to help schools confidently electrify their fleets. They provide expert guidance through every step of the process, from selecting electric buses and recommending the best charging solutions based on your district's routes, to grant writing support and flexible financing options. With Nuvve, you'll enjoy the world's most intelligent charging, simple tools for your transportation directors and drivers, and the opportunity to bring cleaner rides to your students and community today. Get started by visiting Nuvve.com/STN. That's Nuvve.com/STN. All right, guys, we'll be talking to President and CEO of Bluebird, Matt Stevenson, so stay tuned. Super excited to have this next guest on the podcast. It's his first time on. Matt Stevenson, President and CEO of Bluebird. Matt, thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, Tony, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Beautiful. So beautiful day in Georgia out there. You guys are having a nice time?
Beautiful day in Georgia. Yeah, beautiful January day.
They call it a Bluebird day. That's kind of a skier term, but I'm just saying, maybe you could use it.
Hey, 60 and sunny. Hey, we can call it that.
Nice. So I know, about 6 months ago, you decided to take the leap, become the president and CEO of Bluebird. Now, what drove you to choose Bluebird, to come work here, to kind of take the helm?
Yeah, it's a great question, Tony. And just maybe to give you a little background on myself, because I think to put some context of why this opportunity interested me so much. So I basically grew up around commercial vehicles. I grew up in the Northeast, Eastern Pennsylvania. My dad actually worked for Mack Trucks. So I've been around, commercial vehicles practically my whole life, and led me to a career in the industry. Took a little hiatus, leading a very large consumer service company, and was doing some work in the private equity realm, and came across this opportunity of Bluebird, and just my passion around cars, trucks, and buses. And just a phenomenal brand here at Bluebird. I mean, 100-year roughly history. And, the things we're leading in electrification, alternative fuels, and plus the chance to spend time with Phil Horlock, the previous CEO, and Tony, Phil, and just his energy and passion around Bluebird. And frankly, he had a great career at Ford before that. And he just told me, he said, "Hey, Matt, these were the best years of my career leading Bluebird." And I really got to see firsthand the passion that this organization has. And at the same time, it's leadership taking us to, through the next 100 years of clean emission school buses.
Excellent. Well, I know we were talking before, and I learned that you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, which is awesome, right? And, you're in the gridiron of school transportation now, trying to be that quarterback of the team, lead them down the field to victory. And, I think that it takes a lot. It takes the whole team to make it work, right?
No doubt.
And I would love to hear a little more about kind of with Bluebird, when you came there, what were those strengths? What are those opportunities? Where is that possibility for you to coach that team up, to make them better, to get the best out of this great organization?
Yeah, I mean, I inherited an organization that, as we talked about, just a leader in alt fuels and great brand. And, one of the other things I want to touch on, just our workforce. We just have an incredibly dedicated workforce, not only at our headquarters here in Macon, but also just south of here in our facility in Fort Valley. I was doing a town hall yesterday, and we're doing service awards, and yesterday was a 45-year award, right? I mean, and then we had a bunch of 30s and 35s, 25s. So incredibly dedicated workforce. So I'd say for sure that's one of the strengths of our organization. And then I got to talk about our dealer body. I mean, we had an opportunity, my first opportunity to spend time with the dealers at our annual dealer meeting in November. We had it actually not too far from you in Southern California. And just phenomenal group of dealers. The majority of our dealers are bus exclusive dealers, right? They live and breathe buses every day. They're not distracted by, trucks or cars or what have you. The vast majority are focused on buses, and, 3-4 generations plus into Bluebird, and you get their passion. So just an incredible opportunity for me to just be part of something so great with the workforce and our partners and the dealers. One of the other key strengths, is our partnerships with Roush. Just was on the phone with the leader of Roush Clean Tech today, and of course our partnership that has led to our leadership in alternative fuels and around propane. So definitely, that's just a few of the strengths. And now when I look at just opportunity areas, for me, everything starts with people, and I just think continuing to invest in our people and our workforce. In fact, I put 3 foundational objectives into the organization when I took over as CEO in November. The first is care, second is delight, and 3 is deliver. And that first care is take care of our employees. Delight is delight our dealers and customers, and 3 is deliver profitable revenue growth. And so I always think, no matter how well the organization is positioned, continue to invest in our people, so they stay longer, they're better trained, they love coming to work every day, and they build a better bus. And ultimately that helps us, continue to delight our dealers and customers. So really focused on, our employees, continuing to evolve our product, both on our powertrain and also the next generation of bus options, et cetera. And like any business in the industrial automotive space, we just continue that relentless pursuit of quality, right? Making sure we're having continuous improvement both on our quality and throughput in manufacturing.
That's great. Those are awesome pillars to have for everyone to grab onto and visualize and move forward on. I love that. So thank you for sharing that. And, I think, it's very interesting, the timing of you joining Bluebird. You came in at probably one of the most turbulent times that probably a president and CEO could drop into a company during COVID, obviously with schools being affected. We've seen, 3 different versions of this virus, obviously Omicron being the current version, which seems to be affecting school children a lot more than the first 2 waves have, except the symptoms are much more mild, which is great. And we've talked to death on this podcast about it being more endemic now versus pandemic. And I think at the end of the day, we as an industry are driving forward, and it's the people that make this industry great. It's the passion of school transportation professionals, that relentless vision of getting kids to and from school and doing it safely, efficiently, and delivering on that promise. So I love that. And I think ultimately with crisis or anything that jolts the system, it really causes us to kind of maybe recalibrate. I know we did at STN. We did virtual conferences, right? Couldn't do in person. We go to virtual. Obviously, I want to go back to in person because, nothing beats that face-to-face experience. But how about for you guys? I mean, there are big things out there, maybe like supply chain, right? That's jolted the system. What's that really mean? How have you innovated as a company due to some of these kind of environmental challenges?
Yeah. And as you said, I couldn't have entered a company more interesting time, right? I mean, there's just a lot going on right now. And I'd say, some of this was not in the job description relative to the supply chain disruptions. I joined as, president in July, and really, Tony, we saw an erosion in the health of the general commercial vehicle supply base due to whether it was COVID or chips or what have you in the summer, right? July, August, September, et cetera. It really became difficult for everybody across the industry. And I'd say you got to look at it as an opportunity. It lowers the water level, so to speak. And right. So if there are opportunity areas in your business when you're normally running high volume, they get masked. And we look at when now we have the ups and downs a bit relative to the things supply chain disruptions are inducing. It gives you a real chance to concentrate on those bottlenecks and areas for opportunity. And so that's how we've looked at it is, hey, take this time period where we're being held back of being able to produce everything we want and really try to optimize the operation. As supply chain improves, we can take advantage of it. I mean, we have a massive backlog right now of buses. And our goal is, to catch up with the needs of our customers and dealers. But ultimately, you got to be positive and power through. And the other thing I'd say is it really, great supply base across commercial vehicles. And we have some great partners there that help us build our school buses. But ultimately, you start to see those that really manage well-run ships versus those that may not have the tight operational, processes and cadence to power through things. So, I think it definitely, you look at your supply base and you think about, hey, should I have secondary sources, tertiary sources? Where are they sourcing from? How's the world going to change going forward? And do we have to make adjustments in how our sourcing strategy is for the long term?
Yeah, hedging, right? I mean, ultimately, I think in any business, hedging is a good thing. And, I think like you said it well, it unmasks things. It kind of pulls the veil back. Yeah. And I love that business side of things because, we talk about uncertainty and preparing for it and just how do you anticipate the unknown, right? And it's just being a well-oiled machine. And you know what happens is, and I saw it in my staff, everybody rose to the occasion. When the chips were down, everybody was like, hey, what can we do to make this company a success? So it's great to hear you have that kind of team at Bluebird. It's so exciting to hear that.
And frankly, it's just not our team, right? Like I said, we have some great supplier partners we're managing through this. I can't talk enough about the patience with the dealer network and our end customers, right? I think everybody understands just the variability in the world right now. And, ultimately we're all after the same goal, is to safely transport kids to school. Right. And so how do we work together to do that most efficiently in a difficult environment? But it's everyone from our customers, dealers, suppliers, and of course, our teammates down at the Fort Valley plant, as well as our office here in Macon. I mean, these folks have worked tirelessly over, really, now we're getting close to 2 years on this pandemic, right? I mean, Saturdays, Sundays, long hours, and just can't say enough, especially on the operations team, roughly the 1,500 folks we have that are there, supporting, assembling buses. It's they've really powered through this.
Excellent. Well, teamwork makes the dream work, right? I think that's how they say it. So let's talk a little bit about, where do we go from here? What is that forward-facing vision, maybe year one of your presidency here, and maybe beyond? What's that look like? Obviously, we talked a lot about some of the things happening in the market. What do you see as the future in school transportation, just industry-wide, holistic? And then second question, what does that look like for Bluebird? Give us a little color on that.
Yeah, so I got a lot to unpack in that question there. So I'd say the focus here really in this, my first year, is right, getting that cadence of how I want to lead Bluebird into the organization, right? Like a new leader, different thought processes, and different ways they look at things. And so, and plus I brought on a few new leaders on my team as well, new CFO, and as well as a gentleman to lead lean transformation and quality. So, getting the team set as we've done, getting in the, 3 key objectives or pillars of care, delight, and deliver. And then really focusing on, as I said, operations, to take this time when we're not full throttle on volume to really look to improve the underlying efficiencies of the operation, right? So that's really what we're spending a lot of time on. The other thing is, leads to the kind of the second half of your question is, the future of school bus transportation. So, of course, we're the leader in electric and cleaner emission school buses. But that's also a tough position to be in too, because you got to stay in the forefront, right? And there's a lot of folks there chasing us. And so we're continuing to look at not only near term, but midterm and long term, how our powertrains offerings evolve, right? So how do we meet all the upcoming demand relative to the infrastructure funding? And how do we continue to optimize our design for better integration and manufacturability and ultimately cost, right? Of course, EV buses are expensive today, and we want to work to, bring that down over time with our supply base to make them more affordable, for the school districts.
Excellent. I appreciate that insight. I know, we've been keeping an eye on the headlines here at STN, and I know the White House last week had indicated that Build Back Better might have a second life, maybe pared down a little bit, focused on energy and the environment. So We'll kind of wait and hold our breath to see if something might happen where school buses might be included. I know they were kind of in there in the first iteration of this, and as the political process goes, it goes through many times on the cutting room floor before it finds its way to get signed. But we'll really be excited if school transportation can be the beneficiary of kind of this movement to go green. And I think Bluebird's positioned very well to support that, should that come to fruition. But we'll take the infrastructure bill, we'll take that landslide of legislation. We love that, and it's great that it became a law. And really ready, and I'm really happy you're leading the helm there, Bluebird. We're really excited to work with you and appreciate you guys as a partner greatly. And we're excited to see what you bring to the table here at Bluebird.
Yeah, well, thank you. In fact, to your point about kind of the infrastructure and Build Back Better, I had the opportunity to be with Senator Warnock yesterday. He was down at our facility, and a huge supporter of the Clean Transport Act for kids, and ultimately that worked its way into the infrastructure bill and elements of that. And having some time with him, I just asked him about Build Back Better, and I think Tony, to your point, hopefully some elements of that ultimately come out, especially around EV school buses or cleaner emission school buses. Of course, it's a great cause. not only cleaning up the environment, but, kids riding those buses every day. I remember the days, late spring, early summer days, you'd have the windows down on your way home, and, you walked in your house and your mom was wondering why you smelled like diesel, right? So there's a great cause here continuing to deliver battery electric as well as propane and other clean emission technologies.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Well, really appreciate you being on the podcast, School Transportation Nation. You got to hear exclusive interview with Matt Stevenson. Thanks for listening in. We'll hopefully we'll see you out at STN Expo in Reno in this summer, right?
Yes, yeah, for sure, Tony. And appreciate the opportunity to be on with yourself and your listeners, and look forward to being on again.
Hey, special thanks, guys, to this great episode. My co-host, Ms. Taylor Hannon, Matt Stevenson at Bluebird. Really great interviews, great conversations. Special thanks to our partners, TransFinder, Nuvi, and Scraper Systems for sponsoring this podcast. We couldn't do it without you guys. Also, hey, don't forget, go on stnexpo.com, see all the latest info on the upcoming conferences this summer. Also, go to stnonline.com for all the latest and greatest news information. We have it for you. We've got everything, all the latest headlines. Share this podcast with your friends. Get it out on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We need your help. Grow the podcast. Spread the School Transportation Nation to all your friends in the industry. Want you guys to listen. Thank you so much for coming on, being part of the nation. We love you. Take care. We'll see you next week.